Whispers from the Attic, the most terrifying house in Hollow Creek. You don't have to believe me. I'm not here to win points, just to sleep again. If this keeps one person from ignoring a cotton string hanging from the ceiling at 3 a.m., good. My name is Evan, 32, and last year I bought the cheapest livable house in Hollow Creek. A place where porches outnumber people, and the realtor blesses you before handing over the keys. The house taught me two things. Silence has a schedule, and sometimes the scariest voice you'll hear in an old place is your own name said from a floor that isn't yours. I closed on a gray Tuesday, unloaded a mattress, a coffee maker, and a toolbox, and told myself the tilt in the hallway was character. 1918 millworker stock, narrow rooms, beadboard ceilings, an attic hatch with a cotton string, and crawl space vents rusted into the idea of open. First night, I slept on the floor and woke to whispers moving like a draft through drywall. Not words, just the rhythm of speech, the hiss of S and the weight of breath. It faded when I sat up. I blamed the old ductwork, raccoons, neighbors, TV. I'm a boring, practical person. I like explanations that stay put. The second night, the house tried a new trick. A slow tapping started above the hallway like a polite knuckle on plaster. I stood under the hatch with my phone light and watched the string untwist on its own until it hung dead still. I laughed because laughter can rewrite fear if you do it fast enough. Then a whisper threaded down through the cracked paint. It didn't say, "Hello." It said my nickname, Ave, in the exact shape my mother uses when she wants me calm. I didn't sleep after that. I did what everyone here tells you to do. CO detector, normal, vents taped, white noise app, common sense. I dusted the hallway with flour like a bad detective and set my phone to record at 3 Rs. At 3:17 the tapping came, then the whisper, and then a soft drag across the hatch as if someone's sleeve brushed it. In the morning, 2 small ovals had been pressed into the flour on the floorboards below the string. Not paw prints, toes. I could see the tiny half moons where nails had met wood. Neighbors in Hollow Creek are experts at minding their business, until you beg them not to. Old Mr. Harlan next door said the place sat empty 2 winters. The last owner was a ham radio man who strung wire in the rafters and talked to the world until he didn't. The sheriff found him in his recliner with the scanner still gossiping. "Voices in that house, Carrie," Harlan said, as if physics were a sufficient answer to hearing my name whispered by a ceiling. I asked a deputy to look anyway. We popped the hatch at noon. The insulation was the fluffy gray kind that clings like guilt. Something had made a path from hatch to far eaves. Knees, hands, knees. Tiny. No raccoon leaves toe crescents. We found water bottles, 3 protein bar wrappers, a coil of speaker wire, and a baby monitor base with no camera. The deputy wrote a report, told me to call if it escalated, and gave me the exact tone a man uses when he wants you to move and knows you can't afford to. It escalated. The presence changed from sound to arrangement. My toothbrush would be damp when I hadn't used it. I'd lock the back door, check the stove, and return to find the bolt horizontal again. Twice I came home to the attic, string looped like a noose. People online told me raccoons, pranksters, sleepwalking, carbon monoxide, pick a card. I swapped IO locks myself. I slept with the toolbox under my pillow because pretending helps until it doesn't. On a Thursday, the house rolled marbles across the ceiling. I stood under the hatch and said, "Because you have to say something. That's my house." The reply came through the heat register behind me. One word, soft enough to dent air. Mine. I called the deputy. He took 20 minutes. I counted. In those 20 minutes, footsteps traveled the path I'd seen in the insulation, unhurried, as if a script were being read. We went up together, him with weapon drawn, me with a hammer, and found only a new depression leading to the eaves, and at the very end, a child's glass marble pressed into the grey like an eye. We set wildlife cameras, one aimed at the hatch, one down the hall, one at the kitchen door. We left the attic open and dusted flour again. I slept at a friend's apartment and let electronics grow a spine for me. At 3:17, the hatch camera showed the string swing forward and lift as if caught by a hook from below. The attic camera recorded nothing crossing the opening. The hall camera picked up a shimmer at knee height, heat haze shaped, moving from bedroom to hatch. The kitchen camera caught the back door bolt slide open and then back again without the knob twisting. We tried again the next night. The cameras died in order, like lights on a runway. I called an electrician. He wormed through the rafters with a miner's lamp and found 2 lengths of speaker wire running from a desk in the attic, where the ham operator had been, down a wall cavity and back up over my bedroom. "Intercom," he said, or a loop. Someone wanted sound to travel. We cut, capped, taped, and stapled. That night was the first quiet night since I moved in. I told myself it was over. The second night, the smoke detector chirped at 3:17, and when I sat up, the attic string tapped my cheek like a greeting. Stupid is when a sensible man performs a brave act alone. I climbed at 3 once with my phone on video and a box cutter between my teeth. I followed the knee-hand trail into the eaves. There was a cache there, crackers, a water jug, a thin blanket, and a spiral notebook. Page 1, a sketch of my floor plan. Page 2, times and habits. Ev lights out 12:43. Bathroom. 2:10, window sticks. Page 3. He hears when I whisper his name. Works better through floor. The last page was fresh pencil. Move tonight. The deputy came fast that time with another unit. We checked every inch. Crawl space, shed, laurel thicket behind. The fence. A segment of soffit on the detached garage had been rehung with finish nails and kindness. Above it, a hole into the eaves big enough for a narrow teen to worm through. On the far side, another panel led into my attic. A ladder could bridge the gap. No fingerprints worth a lab. On the garage floor, a small router, a tangle of USB cords, and a cheap camera with its SD card gone. Somebody had been living in the zipper between my house and the world long enough to learn me by schedule. They never caught whoever it was. I moved out 2 weeks later, sold at a loss to a contractor who laughed at ghosts and replaced the roof. I work 2 counties over now and sleep heavy most nights. But elevators after hours and laundromats at closing still go quiet the way that house did. And in that quiet, I sometimes hear the shape of a whisper. Not words, just a mouth learning mine. If you buy cheap in Hollow Creek and the attic has a string, Don't ignore it. Coil it, tape it to the hatch, and spend a night somewhere with other people's boredom and too many cameras. You can call this a squatter story or a haunting. I think it was a person who learned how to be a room, and a room that learned how to be a person. Either way, when a house says your name from above your ceiling, believe it.